I'm Mary Henderson, and at 62 years old, I thought I'd seen every flavor of disappointment life could serve, but nothing prepared me for the taste of being invisible at my own daughter's graduation dinner. The restaurant my ex-husband Richard chose was one of those places in downtown Chicago where the chandeliers cost more than my first car and the waiters speak in hushed, reverent tones. Lake Michigan stretched beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, its waters dark and choppy under the October sky. I'd driven 3 hours from my small accounting office in Springfield to be here, rehearsing conversations that would never happen. My daughter Emma had just graduated with her MBA from Northwestern, top of her class. 26 years old, brilliant, driven, everything I'd hoped she'd become when I was raising her alone after the divorce. Richard had remarried within a year, traded our modest life for Catherine's family money and connections. Now he sat at the head of the table in his tailored suit, Catherine beside him in pearls that probably cost more than my mortgage, and I was squeezed between Emma's college roommate and someone's +1 whose name I'd already forgotten. "So, Mary," Catherine said, her smile perfect and practiced, "Emma tells us you're still doing bookkeeping for small businesses?" The way she said "still" felt like a paper cut, small but stinging. "I run my own accounting firm," I corrected gently, lifting my water glass. 15 employees now. We just took on the Riverside Medical Group account. "How lovely," she said, but her eyes had already moved on, scanning the room for someone more interesting. Richard cleared his throat, that familiar sound that used to make my stomach drop during our marriage. "Let's talk about Emma's achievement tonight. My daughter just graduated from one of the finest business schools in the country." My daughter. As if I hadn't been the one sitting up with her through calculus homework, hadn't worked double shifts to afford her SAT prep courses, hadn't believed in her when she thought she'd never get into college at all. Emma reached under the table and squeezed my hand. She knew. She always knew. The dinner progressed like a play where I'd forgotten my lines. Richard dominated the conversation, talking about the connections he'd made for Emma, the interviews he'd arranged at his company, Henderson Technologies, the software firm he'd built from the ground up. Well, that we'd built. I'd done the books for free for the first 5 years, had gone without new clothes so he could afford that crucial server upgrade, had believed in his vision even when the bank laughed him out of their offices. "I've got big news," Richard announced as the main course arrived. "Emma, I want you to join Henderson Technologies, Director of Strategic Development. You'll report directly to me." Emma's face lit up, then immediately clouded as she glanced at me. "Dad, I need to think about it. I have other offers." "Other offers?" Richard laughed. "Sweetheart, those are just entry-level positions. I'm offering you a real future, a seat at the table where decisions are made." "What about grad school?" I asked quietly. "You were thinking about getting your PhD, remember? You wanted to research sustainable business practices." Richard waved his hand dismissively. "That's a nice hobby, Mary, but this is the real world. Emma needs to think practically. The real world. As if my practical decisions, working 3 jobs to keep us fed, building a business from nothing, teaching Emma that success meant more than just money, as if none of that was real." I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment away from the table, from Catherine's pitying glances and Richard's casual erasure of everything I'd contributed. The bathroom was all marble and gold fixtures, and I stared at my reflection. A woman with silver-threaded brown hair, lines around her eyes that spoke of late nights and hard-won wisdom, wearing a dress I'd bought on sale but felt beautiful in. When I returned, Richard was signing the check with a flourish. "Let's not split this," he said, not looking at me. "I've got it covered." Of course he did. He always had to be the provider, the hero, even when I could pay my own way. We spilled out onto Michigan Avenue, the autumn wind sharp off the lake. Emma hugged me tight, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom. He means exactly what he says," I told her, smoothing her hair. "But you don't have to accept his offer just because he's your father. You have options, baby. Don't forget that." Driving home on I-55, the highway stretching dark and endless ahead of me, I felt something shift inside my chest. Not heartbreak. I was long past that where Richard was concerned. No, this was different. This was anger, clean and clarifying as the October wind. I'd spent 30 years being dismissed, minimized, treated like the opening act instead of the main event. And suddenly, I was tired of it. 2 weeks later, I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my phone rang. Unknown number, Chicago area code. Mary Henderson? The voice was crisp, professional, female. This is Jennifer Walsh from Whitmore Executive Search. Do you have a moment? I'd been in business long enough to know what headhunters sounded like. I'm not looking for a position right now, but thank you. Actually, Mrs. Henderson, we're not calling about employment. We're calling about board membership, specifically Henderson Technologies. I almost dropped the phone. Jennifer continued, her words careful and measured. I understand this might come as a surprise. I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss this opportunity if you're available. Would tomorrow work? The next day, I found myself back in Chicago, in a sleek office tower in the Loop. Jennifer was maybe 40, with short dark hair and the kind of direct gaze that suggested she didn't waste time on games. Here's the situation, she said, sliding a folder across her desk. Henderson Technologies has grown significantly in the past decade. They're preparing for a potential public offering in the next 2 years. Their current board structure is problematic. Problematic how? 5 members, all men, 4 of them over 65. No diversity, no fresh perspectives, and frankly, several major investors are concerned. They need to modernize the board before going public. Your name came up. My name? I couldn't keep the skepticism from my voice. From whom? Jennifer smiled slightly. Robert Chen, their chief financial officer. He's been researching potential board candidates, and he found something interesting. You were listed as co-founder of Henderson Technologies in the original incorporation papers. You held shares until the divorce settlement. My breath caught. I'd forgotten about that, honestly. Richard had bought me out as part of the settlement, had given me what seemed like a generous sum at the time. I'd taken it because I needed the security, needed to know Emma, and I would be okay. I gave up those shares 20 years ago, I said. You gave up the shares, Jennifer agreed. But you can't give up history. You helped build that company. More importantly, you have exactly what they need. A successful business owner with deep knowledge of the company's origins, financial expertise, and yes, you're a woman, which helps their diversity problem. Several board members are retiring this quarter. There's an opening. Richard would never allow it. Richard doesn't have sole voting power. The board votes on new members. And between you and me, some of the other board members are tired of his autocratic approach. You'd have allies. I spent the drive home in a daze, the folder Jennifer gave me sitting on my passenger seat like a live grenade. Inside were financial reports, board meeting minutes, strategic plans. Henderson Technologies had done well. Annual revenue in the hundreds of millions, offices in 12 cities, over 2,000 employees, and I'd helped start it in our kitchen, entering data while Emma slept in a bassinet beside me. That evening, Emma called. Mom, can I come visit this weekend? I need to talk to you about something. She arrived Saturday morning, her car loaded with boxes. I turned down Dad's offer, she said over coffee at my kitchen table. I want to get my PhD, Mom. You were right. I want to research sustainable business, corporate responsibility, making a real difference. Dad's offer was just about power and control. That's not who I want to be. I reached across and took her hand. Your father's going to be upset. He already is. He said I was throwing away my future, that I was being influenced by your limited thinking. The words stung, even secondhand. Limited thinking. After everything I'd built, everything I'd achieved. There's something I need to tell you, I said, and explained about Jennifer's call, the board position, the possibility of returning to the company I'd helped create. Emma's eyes went wide. Mom, you have to do it. You absolutely have to. It would mean confronting your father regularly. Board meetings, strategic decisions, it could get ugly. Good, Emma said fiercely. Let it get ugly. You've been quiet and diplomatic for my entire life, Mom. You've let him take credit, let him rewrite history. Maybe it's time you reminded everyone what you're actually capable of. 3 months later, after interviews and background checks, I stood outside the Henderson Technologies headquarters building in Chicago. It was early March, one of those cruel days where spring seems possible until the wind off Lake Michigan reminds you winter's not done yet. The building was glass and steel, imposing and modern. Richard's vision made physical. Except it wasn't just his vision, was it? I'd been there at the beginning, had been part of every decision until the divorce court separated our lives. Jennifer had coached me extensively. First board meeting will be tense, she'd warned. Richard will try to undermine you. Don't rise to it. Stay professional, know your material, and remember, you earned it. The boardroom was on the 15th floor, all windows and expensive furniture. 5 men were already seated when I arrived, Richard at the head of the table, his face frozen in what I recognized as his professional mask. "Mary," he said, his voice carefully neutral, "welcome to the board." The vote had been 4-2 in my favor. Richard and his longtime friend Marcus had opposed my appointment, but Robert Chen had advocated strongly for me, as had 2 other board members concerned about the company's future. "Thank you," I said, taking my seat. Not at the far end where I suspected Richard had hoped I'd sit, but in the middle, right across from Robert Chen, who gave me an encouraging nod. The meeting began with routine business, quarterly results, budget approvals, staffing updates. I listened carefully, taking notes, asking questions when something wasn't clear. My years running my own firm had taught me how to read financial statements, how to spot inconsistencies, how to think strategically. Then we reached new business. "The acquisition proposal for DataStream Solutions," Richard said, pulling up a presentation. "I'm recommending we move forward. It's a smaller firm, about 50 employees, but their data analytics platform would integrate well with our current offerings." I'd reviewed the proposal over the weekend. "What's the price point?" I asked. "$45 million, Richard said. "Well within our acquisition budget." "And their annual revenue?" $3 million, but with significant growth potential." I looked down at my notes. "That's a 15 times revenue multiple. Industry standard for tech acquisitions is closer to 3 to 5 times revenue for companies this size. Why are we paying such a premium?" Richard's jaw tightened. "The value is in their technology and talent, not just current revenue. You're looking at this too narrowly, Mary." "I'm looking at it financially," I said calmly, "which is my job as a board member. Have we considered building similar capability in-house or partnering instead of acquiring?" Robert Chen leaned forward. "Those are good questions. Do we have analysis on build versus buy?" Richard's professional mask slipped slightly. "We've done preliminary analysis. Acquisition is faster." "Faster," I said. "But is it smarter? If we're preparing for a public offering, every acquisition will be scrutinized. We need to show fiscal responsibility, not just growth for growth's sake." The discussion continued for another hour. By the end, the board had tabled the acquisition pending more detailed financial analysis and alternative options. It wasn't a victory exactly, but it was a statement. I wasn't here to rubber stamp Richard's decisions. After the meeting, as others filed out, Richard stopped me in the hallway. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly, the professional mask completely gone now. "Do what? My job? Undermine me? Question my judgment in front of the entire board?" I met his eyes steadily. "I questioned a proposal, Richard. That's what board members do. If you wanted someone who'd just agree with everything you say, you should have fought harder to keep me off this board." "I did," he said. "Obviously, it didn't work." He walked away, and I realized I was smiling. Not a triumphant smile, just a satisfied one. The smile of someone who'd finally found her voice again. Robert Chen caught up with me at the elevator. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 50, with kind eyes and a quick smile. "That was impressive," he said. "The data stream analysis. You're absolutely right about the multiple being too high." "Thank you for supporting my appointment," I said. "I looked into the company's history," he said. "Found the original incorporation papers, the early financial records. You were there from day one, weren't you? Building the foundation he's been coasting on for 20 years. The elevator arrived, but neither of us got in. "That's the past," I said. "Past informs future," Robert said. He's gotten used to making decisions without real oversight. The board's been too friendly, too deferential. We need someone who'll ask the hard questions. Over the next 3 months, I attended 6 more board meetings. Each one felt like a careful dance. Me asking questions, Richard bristling, other board members slowly beginning to engage more critically with his proposals. The company was strong, but there were inefficiencies, places where Richard's ego had led to expensive mistakes. I also spent time with Emma, who'd started her PhD program at University of Illinois. She was researching corporate governance and family businesses. "You're basically living research, Mom," she said during one of our Sunday phone calls. "The founder's ex-wife joining the board? That's dissertation material." "I'm glad my life can contribute to scholarship," I said dryly. But the truth was, I felt more alive than I had in years. Every board meeting was a challenge, a chance to prove that my voice mattered. And slowly, I was winning respect, not just from the board, but from the company's leadership team. The turning point came in June, during what should have been a routine meeting about leadership succession planning. Richard was 67, and while he showed no signs of wanting to retire, the board had been pushing for a clear succession plan before the potential public offering. "I propose we promote from within," Richard said, pulling up an organizational chart. "James Peterson, current VP of Operations, as President and COO. He'd handle day-to-day operations while I remain CEO and Chairman." I'd done my homework on James Peterson. Competent, loyal to Richard, but unimaginative. He'd run the company exactly as Richard wanted, which meant no real change. "What about external candidates?" I asked. "Have we conducted a comprehensive search?" "We don't need external candidates," Richard said. "James knows this company inside and out." "Knowing a company and having the vision to lead it forward are different things," I said, "especially if we're going public. Investors will want to see dynamic leadership, not just continuity." Marcus spoke up. "Mary, I think you're overstepping here. Richard built this company. He knows what it needs." "Richard co-founded this company," I said, my voice calm but firm. "And yes, he grew it significantly. But this isn't about what Richard wants anymore. It's about what's best for Henderson Technologies, for our employees, for future shareholders. We have a fiduciary duty to explore all options." The room went silent. Richard's face had gone red. "You've been on this board for 6 months, Mary. 6 months, and you think you know better than me what this company needs?" "I've been part of this company for 32 years, I said quietly. "I was there when it was just an idea and a kitchen table. I know its foundations because I helped pour them, and right now, those foundations need fresh perspective." By the end of the meeting, the board had voted to conduct a formal leadership search, internal and external candidates. It passed 5-3. I'd gained another ally in Patricia Morrison, one of the newer board members who worked in venture capital. After the meeting, I didn't rush to leave. I waited in the boardroom, looking out at the Chicago skyline, the city where I'd once felt so small and now felt appropriately sized. Richard came back. Of course he did. "You're trying to push me out," he said. "I'm trying to do what's right for the company," I replied. "There's a difference. This is about revenge, about the divorce, about—" "This isn't about us," I interrupted. "Not everything is about us, Richard. Not anymore. This is about Henderson Technologies becoming the company it should be. A company that makes good decisions based on data and strategy, not ego. I made this company what it is. We made this company what it is," I said. "I was there at the beginning. I'm here now, and I'm going to keep being here, doing my job, whether you like it or not." He left without another word, and I stood there watching the June sunlight reflect off the glass towers, feeling something I hadn't felt in decades: pride. 3 months later, the board selected a new president, an external candidate, a woman named Dr. Sarah Kim, who'd successfully led 2 other tech companies through growth phases and public offerings. She was brilliant, strategic, and unafraid of Richard's tendency toward bulldozing. Emma drove up from Champaign-Urbana for the announcement. We had dinner that night at a small Italian place in Lincoln Park. Nothing fancy, just good food and better company. "How does it feel?" Emma asked. "Being back in the company, making real changes?" "It feels like closing a circle," I said. "Or maybe opening a new one. I spent so many years defined by what I'd lost, the marriage, my place in the company, the credit for what I'd built. But I'm not defined by that anymore. I'm defined by what I'm doing now." "Dad's not happy," Emma said carefully. "Your father's never happy when he's not completely in control. But he'll adjust. And this is better for him too, even if he can't see it yet. The company's stronger with diverse perspectives. That's how good companies become great ones." We walked along the lake afterward, the August evening warm and gentle. Emma linked her arm through mine. "You know what I realized?" she said. "You taught me everything important by example, not by words. How to stand up for myself, how to know my worth, how to come back stronger after being knocked down. I watched you do all of that, Mom." I felt tears prick my eyes. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." "It's just true," Emma said. "Dad taught me about ambition and strategy, but you taught me about resilience and grace, about being dismissed and showing up anyway." We stopped walking, standing at the edge of the lake, the city glittering behind us. I thought about the graduation dinner, about feeling invisible and dismissed. I thought about the anger that had sparked in me that night, the clean, clarifying anger that had pushed me to accept Jennifer's call, to join the board, to reclaim my place in the story I'd helped write. I'd taken Richard's seat, literally and figuratively, not through revenge or spite, but through competence, preparation, and the quiet insistence that I belonged in rooms where decisions were made. At 62, I discovered something essential. It's never too late to remind the world and yourself of what you're capable of. It's never too late to stop being invisible and start being undeniable. Come on, I said to Emma, linking my arm back through hers. Let's get ice cream. I'm buying. With your board member money? She teased. With my hard-earned money, I corrected. Every penny of it. We walked together into the warm Chicago night. Two women who'd learned the same essential lesson. The best response to being dismissed isn't anger or bitterness. It's excellence. It's showing up. It's taking your seat at the table and refusing to give it up. Because we did belong. We always had. It just took the world a little while to catch up.